Hello bitches, welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, I finally wanted to show 10 art YouTube channels that I feel like you all should follow, because I feel like in this day and age, a lot of artists are growing resentful towards social media, and I get it. I'm an artist myself who has dealt with the impacts of the algorithm, feeling the need to constantly be posting, which feels like you're devaluing your art. And while social media is definitely frustrating, I still feel like there are great benefits to its existence, such as having other artists being so much more easily discoverable nowadays. So in today's video, I wanted to talk about 10 art YouTube channels that I feel like will benefit other artists, and not just growing their skill levels and their techniques, but also just discussing their careers so you can figure out what it is you want to do, if this is the lifestyle you want. What are your options out there, especially with more alternative routes being created nowadays? It's not like everyone has to work a regular 9-to-5. Some people are independent artists, freelancers, business owners. There are just so many other options out there nowadays, and I feel like I want to bring some of them into light. But in today's video, I wanted to talk about art YouTube channels that are not as easily discoverable as your major big art YouTubers. Like, there are some where if you just look up how to draw this or that, there will usually be the bigger art YouTuber channels showing up, but I want to talk about the ones that might have required a little bit more sifting or digging through to find these channels. But before I dive into today's video, I first wanted to announce that I am hosting a Black Friday sale on my Etsy store right now, where I am currently selling my self-published comics, prints, and more. So if you want to catch a good deal on one of my books or prints, definitely check out my Etsy shop. And if you didn't know already, my graphic novel MEESH the Bad Demon is now available for pre-order, which is in the links below. This is a graphic novel that I have been working on for the past 2 years now, and it is finally going to be published in March 2023. So if you want to be one of the first people to grab a copy of it, the pre-orders are down below. Anyway, the prerequisites I chose for the channels I chose in today's videos are as follows. They are not as easily discoverable as major art YouTubers. They're individuals that you can just follow the journey of, and they're not like a bigger studio or a larger team. They're still active to this day, and I still see them posting. So they're not like YouTube channels that just made videos and stopped posting months or years ago. They don't just show their art, but they also discuss their career. They show and discuss snippets of their day-to-day life and their personality. These YouTube channels showcase a spectrum of where they are in their careers right now. So I'm not just choosing industry veterans who have been working in the industry for 50+ years. I am choosing people who are students, are just getting started in their careers, have worked in their careers for like a few years, or have had a pretty good amount of experience thus far. And the types of artists that I am choosing are within the animation, illustration, comics, storytelling world. That's kind of what I do as an artist myself. I work in animation as a story artist, and I self-publish my own comics and am publishing my own comic. So my world is definitely more in the character, narrative, art, storytelling world, and that is also where a lot of these artists are going to be derived from. And now let's begin the list. So the first artist I wanted to talk about is Anusha Syed, who's a professional illustrator, children books illustrator, and character designer. She is based in Toronto, Canada, and she's known for her books such as That's Not My Name. She recently had a Target collection with her illustrations on a bunch of products. She's done tons of illustration work for books and worked with Disney, Google, Netflix. She creates a lot of inclusive stories in the form of beautiful and charming illustrations, and she shares that journey of being an illustrator on YouTube. On YouTube, she shares her life as an illustrator, and you can see what life is like freelancing. And along with that, she shares information on career advice for becoming an illustrator, such as like getting an agent, how she landed on her first deal, financial talks, and walking through her art creation process. I think in general, Anusha's channel is great for people who are interested in freelancing, illustrating, and getting into the publishing world, and just want to see what the life of someone in that career path is like. Then next, I wanted to talk about Jackie Druico. Jackie is a filmmaker, character designer. She She graduated from Sheridan Animation and she's based in Vancouver, Canada. You might have seen this short animated film before, but it's called Bang Bang and it has like over 3 million views on YouTube, and she is the creator behind that short film. She's worked with Netflix, Nickelodeon, Titmouse Animation Studios, Warner Brothers, Bento Box, DreamWorks, and more. And just as a fun fact, we actually both worked on Arlo the Alligator Boy together, which was recently nominated for an Emmy, so congratulations to Arlo. But even though we worked on Arlo together, we were based in different locations, with me being in LA and she's based in Vancouver, so there was kind of an international collaboration happening there. So Jackie's designs are really strong and bold, and I definitely think you all should check out her art book, which I recently just got myself. On her YouTube channel, she shares a lot of her process and speed paints, but also gives great career advice for anybody interested in getting into the character design world and animation. I also think that she's very clear when she explains things and is also really simultaneously funny. She shares information on character design portfolios, how to make an animated short, and how she made her art book, and also gives critiques for anybody who is interested in them. Overall, I would say that Jackie's channel is great for anybody who wants to make their own animated short for school or for yourself, or if you want to make your own animated pilot to pitch to animation studios, or creating illustrations with a strong emphasis on characters. Then next, I wanted to talk about Ko Pantoja, who I feel like most of you might even already know. He's actually kind of a bigger art YouTuber, but I feel like he is very specifically more a 2D animator, story artist, director, and he also graduated from Cal Arts. I actually saw Ko's films as a high schooler. I used to just watch his short films while I was like on the bus going home from school, and we actually ended up working at Netflix together, but on different projects, and we did a talk together at Lightbox Expo in 2019. Ko is also based in Los Angeles, and he sometimes works from the Philippines from what I saw in his videos, and he's a founder of his online animation studio, Brushtail Works Studios. He storyboarded for DreamWorks Feature, Netflix Animation, and Sonic the Hedgehog 2, and he was also an animator at Tonko House, but we weren't there together at the same time, for the short film The Dam Keeper, and his CalArts student films were nominated and won various awards. So I feel like Ko is mostly known for how he fully animates these fantastical stories and short films, and he writes the stories behind them as well. He has these really big imaginative worlds with a lot of action and drama, and he recently released a teaser for a pilot called Dusk's Flight. On YouTube, he shares a lot of his experience working in the animation industry, mainly as a storyboard artist. He creates tutorials for animators and storyboard artists as well, and he also provides general art advice when it comes to motivation, art block, and is pretty transparent in some of the negative feelings that you might experience as an artist as well, to keep everything honest. But yeah, I would say that Ko's channel is great for anybody who wants to work in the animation industry as an animator, storyboard artist, and might have interest in animating a short film. Then next, I wanted to talk about Kelsey Rodriguez, who I actually recently discovered, and she is a visual artist, oil painter, content creator, and she does a lot of talk on art business and entrepreneurship, which I feel like our community just needs a lot more of. Like, this is the shit that I would have died to see as an art student. I feel like nobody really talks about this side of being an artist. Most people just talk about their art creation process or what it's like being an artist. But I don't see as many people talking about the business and technicalities of being an artist as your career and how to support yourself financially. So Kelsey is based in the East Bay area in California, and she is an art YouTuber who has been growing a lot in this past year. She is a freelancer as well and primarily creates content on strategizing how to have an art career or business through having a presence on social media. And on YouTube, she shares her experiences growing as an artist on social media, primarily on YouTube. She has a lot of transparency with her finances and growth as well, which I really appreciate. She shares business advice for aspiring artists and talks a lot about the relationship between artists and social media, and shares her personal journey growing as an artist online. Overall, I would say Kelsey's channel is great for anybody who is thinking about starting a social media presence, rethinking their strategy on how to promote their art, and it's good for anyone who might either want to start their own art YouTube channel someday, or even how to re-strategize their current social media plan. She also makes a lot of great lists on how to make money with your art, and I think that she's just a great person to follow if you want to follow along the journey of another artist who is growing in her own career and on social media. Then next, I wanted to talk about Sarah Wang, also known as Swang's Art on YouTube, who I also recently discovered, and she is a creative producer at Webtoons and even writes some of the comics herself, and she illustrates her own art. She is also based in Los Angeles, California, and she has produced and written comics on Webtoons such as A Table for Two, American Road Trip, Opposite of Always, Spells from Hell, Big Ethel Energy, Night Owls, and Summer Skies. So I feel like I've never heard about somebody working in Webtoons before. I know that a lot of artists post their comics on Webtoons, but I never hear about the whole business side of Webtoons or like the actual industry path of starting to work in Webtoons. It's very interesting, and I really suggest anybody who is interested in the world of comics or even producing their own Webtoons comics themselves to check out her channel. On her YouTube, she shares her experiences working at Webtoons, working with other artists and creators, sharing day in the lives, and she talks about her career journey, advice for aspiring comic artists, and in general, I just feel like her experience is very unique as a creative producer, because that's kind of like a mix of producing, directing, and writing, because I think in the animation world, so many people are used to producers just being the people who are like, here's your schedule, you've got to get shit done, managing people or something. But as a creative producer, she also has a lot of creative say, which is why it's more similar to directing, and she also even writes some of the stories behind the comics as well. Other things I like about her channel is she shares her personal experiences like dealing with mental health. She shares vlogs living her day-to-day life, which I feel like is important for people to know and be aware about, because when you pursue a specific career, it's very easy to learn about the job responsibilities themselves, but you don't know how that's exactly going to mix in and tie in with your actual personal life. And it's just good to be aware about any potential difficulties that come along the way and decide whether or not if this is a career path that might be right for you. In general, I think Sarah's channel is great for anybody who wants to create comics for Webtoons, might be considering a career in the comics space, or learn about a creative producer role at Webtoons. Webtoons has definitely been up and coming in the past few years, so if you're someone who's interested in comics, storytelling, narrative art, this is definitely a channel you should check out. Then next, I wanted to start talking about some art students who are sharing their journeys online, and one of them is Rosie Lamb. And no, I did not just choose her because we share the same last name and our families are both originated from Hong Kong. So Rosie is a 2D animation student at Pratt, which is one of the top art schools in the United States, based in New York, and she's actually recently pursuing a colorist internship, which is something that I actually haven't heard of before. So I think she just started it, which is why you should follow her channel so you can follow her along in her journey. And she also shares a lot of lifestyle vlogs of being an art student. So Rosie is based in New York City, and she's originally from Hong Kong, and she showcases a lot of her student life, which I feel like is important for art students because you need to learn how to balance your life and work. And I feel like it's very similar to pursuing a career, except you're a student, where I think if you want to be an art student, sometimes it's good to know what your actual day-to-day life might look like and see if this is something for you. On her YouTube, she shares a lot of day in the life vlogs. Again, she shares a lot of the assignments, homeworks, how she gets through finals and crunch time, which is definitely a highlight of the art school experience. She also shares a lot of portfolio advice, art school Q&As, and even talks about her schedule as an art student. And I think this is also a great channel for anyone who is moving to New York, because I feel like New York recently has been opening up a lot more to the animation world, which kind of sucks because I'm originally a New Yorker as well, but I left New York because there just did not seem to be as big of a space for animation there, but it does seem like it is growing as of lately. So I think Rosie's channel is great for any aspiring students who want to know what it's like to attend an art school in the United States, what you can expect lifestyle-wise, and if you want to watch videos that are more in a diary style where you really see the details of your day-to-day life, what things that you can do on your free time. I really think Rosie's channel would be great in showing all aspects of an art student's life. Then next I wanted to talk about another art student named Carrie, who is also known as Carrie Tube on YouTube. She is currently a multimedia artist and animation student at Miami-Dade Community College, and she focuses on game art and animation, and I believe she aspires to one day to work in animation and become a showrunner or run her own studio, which again, I think it's great that a lot of younger artists now are having these bigger goals in life. She creates content on YouTube as well where she shares her student life and working on her own personal art. So Carrie is based in Miami, Florida, but she's originally from Haiti, and she shares her experiences going to community college, and I think that's great for anybody who is considering that route for school, because when it comes to art and animation, there are so many alternative paths that other people take, and I think that Carrie's journey is a great example of that. On her YouTube channel, she shares weeks, day in the life vlogs of an art student. She also does a lot of reviews on technology and industry tools for artists, which is great for anybody who's considering certain types of tablets or digital art tools that could be more affordable. And she shows how she studies for school and shares her experiences going to community college, what her plans for the future are, and some of the things that she learns in her animation classes. I think her channel is good for anyone who wants to know what it's like to attend a community college in the United States for art, wants to know what are the best tools and technologies to use, what are the varieties of different types of projects or assignments you might be given in your classes, such as 3D animation, storyboarding, character designing, 2D animation. She shows all of that in her videos, so definitely check out Carrie's channel for that. So now moving more into the freelance independent artist space, I wanted to talk about Sarah Tepes, who is a freelance illustrator who does both digital and traditional illustrations. She's also a graphic designer and makes a living through her career on YouTube, Patreon, and running an online shop. She has partnered with Netflix, Dell, Alienware, Wix, Wacom, and Trekell, and I believe that she is based in Virginia in the United States. She does a lot of digital portraits, pencil illustrations of beautiful people with a strong Instagram following as well. So on her YouTube, she shares a lot of art tips and advice, social media advice, especially for Instagram, Reels, and how to grow on Instagram. She also shares a lot of career advice on freelancing, art speed paints and tutorials, and snippets of her life, and more recently, buying and selling a house as an artist. I wish more people talked about that, because artists are always seen as, you know, this career that does not get you anywhere in life and that you can't support yourself, but it is definitely possible, and I think that Sarah shows it for sure. So I think that Sarah's channel is great for any illustrators, painters, digital artists, and traditional artists who want to either try freelancing or find a way to build a business for themselves online. I think anyone who is interested in growing a social media following and wants to also someday buy a house would get a lot of great tips and tricks from Sarah's channel. I actually watched a lot of her videos when I was figuring out how to do Instagram Reels, because it just was really frustrating for me to just figure that out on my own. But yeah, I think it's just great to have artists talk about these financial goals that others might think is impossible for themselves. Then next is Marika Kowalski, who is a digital artist who specializes in portraits, and she is also a content creator with a very strong following on Instagram and TikTok, where she shares a lot of her tutorials on how she draws her characters. She's also based in Poland, and on YouTube, she shares a lot of her art advice for digital artists, her experiences as a full-time digital artist, and provides social media advice as well. She showcases vlogs of her day-to-day life and how she schedules her time for work, and reviews art tools and accessories for digital artists. She's also one of the artists who's pretty transparent with her finances, which I appreciate. And on her TikTok, she shares a lot of her art creation process, tutorials, and brushes that she uses. I think that Marika's channel is great for any aspiring digital artists who might want to pursue a digital art career on social media, specifically on Instagram and TikTok, and anyone who wants to make tutorials of their own art someday. And if you're someone who also wants to run an online shop where you sell your digital tools and presets so that other artists can use and learn from them as well, I think that Marika's different platforms are really great in showcasing that. Then lastly is Purnell, who is also known as Moo Illustration, who I also recently discovered in the past year. Mimi is an illustrator and freelancer who runs an online business and shares tutorials and advice on how to create certain pieces of art and create a self-sustaining art career. She is also based in Australia and worked on picture books such as The Love That Grew, Nice and Slow, and produces really high quality YouTube videos that follows her life as an independent artist, and runs an online Etsy shop where she sells her tools, resources, and digital files. What I love about her YouTube channel is that she is extremely transparent in the finances and her income of being an independent artist, so you can really get in the nitty-gritty of how much you could potentially make on different platforms, and you can follow her journey as a digital artist and see her art creating process and how she runs an art business. You can also see day in the life vlogs, tutorials on how to grow on social media, and social media advice specifically for Instagram, YouTube, Patreon, and Etsy. She also talks about how she manages her schedule and overall focuses on the big picture of her career. So I think that Mimi's channel is going to be great and extremely informative for anyone who really wants to know what your life might look like financially as a freelance artist, similar to Mimi's position at this moment in time, and how much you could potentially make on these different platforms, and steps in how to create an online shop where you sell digital products. And also, if you do have an interest in the publishing industry or balancing multiple different types of jobs, like I feel like Mimi's channel covers so many different types of art careers just packaged in one art channel. So those are the 10 art YouTube channels that I definitely think you all should check out, because not only will they help give you advice in improving your art, but also in your art career and your life. And that is what I specifically like doing with my channel as well. I don't like to just talk about art tips and tricks on how to just improve the technicalities of your art skills, but I also want to talk about the career and the big picture of how you can make a living as an artist. And I'm glad that these other artists exist to show all the other different alternative ways that exist. I feel like when I was growing up, I did not see as many artists talking about their careers online, because I feel like the internet was also growing, and most people who did share their art online was just showing their art, but not so much talking about their careers. Like, I think when I was younger, the most I would get is hearing podcasts with Glenn Keane or all these veteran animators talking about what their life was like in the 1980s or something, which was not even going to be relevant to my generation by the time that we started our careers. So that's why I think, as shitty as social media can sometimes be, I still think that it can be such a great eye-opener for anybody who wants to see what the lives of current working artists are, that are definitely younger as well, so it's a little bit more realistic to what your future could look like, and they're sharing their journey as it's going and not just talking about their whole career once they're retired. And another thing that I think is great about these channels is they talk about things within the industry and business and also finances, which is not often talked about amongst artists, but I feel like as of lately, a lot of artists are feeling more empowered to speak about this so that other artists can know. And by creating more transparency in the financial space of artists, you can also help other artists be more informed. But yeah, all of the channels will be linked in the description box below, and it feels really great to just share other artists that I find interesting for once, instead of just talking about my personal experience all the time. So yeah, I hope you found this video helpful and that this opens up some of your eyes to other paths, and I will see you all in the next one. So peace out and stay wholesome, bitches.